Hi, Mick.
Hiya.
Having a bit of lunch.
Got me lunch yet?
Jolly good. Just waiting for people to arrive. At least 2 members of staff need to come online. There's a youngish student who's supposed to be sitting in, as I'm talking about her work.
All right. Yeah.
And I said, "Do you want to present it to the group?" I've not seen someone so terrified for a long time. Oh, here comes Gail.
Hello.
Hi, Gail.
Hiya.
Hi, Nick. You all right?
Yeah.
And Debbie Dozy. Weather's got a bit cold now.
Say again.
Weather's gone a bit cold.
It has.
Even in Suffolk, it's got cold, has it?
It's all right here. It's gone cloudy now, but it's fine. Been out for a walk with my brother.
Nice.
So just got back in time, which is good.
I'm having to email Beth because she's supposed to be coming on and she might not have the right link. Be working for your dinner today. I've got a questionnaire to go through to get your comments on.
Oh.
Let's see. You had a good day so far? It's Wednesday. It's nearly weekend. It's not Wednesday. It's Friday.
It's Friday. Yeah, I've been for a walk with my brother, had coffee, sitting outside. It's very nice.
That sounds like a nice morning.
Yeah, we try and do that on Fridays. Not always Fridays, but usually.
Yeah.
Well,
He's just got a new. He's just got a new grandson, so I met him last Friday for the first time. Sweet little thing.
Yes, I've got a first birthday thing to go to tomorrow for my so what is the son of my niece called? Is that niece once removed or something?
Small person.
Yes. No matter what, it's a small person. It definitely is.
Yes. Well, my small person's only 3 weeks old tomorrow. So when I saw him last week, he's only 2 weeks old. But
Very small. Very small person.
Yes.
So I met Billy last week a few times. There's Gwyneth. And I was in Gwyneth. My favourite Welsh county. Is it a county in Wales or is it a region? I don't know.
My son's up in North Wales on holiday at the moment.
Oh, nice. That's where I was last week.
sending us pictures and video clips of some of the old mining heritage and the
Oh,
waterfalls.
right. So he's in Snowdonia.
Yes, that sort of area.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
nice. Spectacular around
You-
there.
You were in Anglesey, weren't you, Graham?
I was. It was very nice, although we were looking at whale float most of the time, which is this is a nuclear power station, but it's shut down, so it's all right. It was just on the horizon.
Yeah,
It was an absolutely lovely week, so
good.
well worth taking a week off and wait in that kind of weather.
Yeah, well, it's the hot week, wasn't it?
It certainly was. It was a bit cooler because we were out in Anglesey, so
Yeah,
that was quite
yeah.
nice because one or two of us don't particularly get on well with 30 degrees plus.
No, I'm not very good in the heat. My joints don't like it.
Do you think it's, some people say joints don't like cold. Some people say joints don't like hot.
Yeah, I'm worse
Well-
when it's hot.
We're all different. Yeah, do you put cold or ice on the joint and does that help?
Yeah, yes. I'm doing that at the moment. My knees that are painful,
Right.
which gives them a bit of relief. Well, it's not ice, it's an old bag of peas.
Oh, nice. And you can have them for tea later.
Well, no, they're labelled, so I don't use them because they've been in and out of the freezer I don't know how many times, but they do work.
Can I just ask, I don't know if you can hear me. Can I
Yeah.
just ask, have we changed yet to having the discussion first and then the chat afterwards?
I think we'll keep the chat to a minimum because I've got quite a lot to talk about today, for one thing. Got 3 different things. I don't know. Beth's got a few things to talk about.
I've got one talk that's probably 20 minutes, depending on
Okay.
questions.
So if we keep the sort of the chat down to about 10 or 20 minutes, that should be fine.
Okay, I'll put the coffee on.
I've got my coffee here.
It's going to be noisy. Machine.
How's everybody doing? I don't know how much I missed before I got into the room.
Not a lot.
Okay, cool.
Do you want to start off, Beth?
With
What you've just said.
who's
which is-
already
No,
who's already
nobody.
said that they are?
We haven't started anything yet. So we just need to quickly go around asking how everyone is, and then get on
Okay.
with the talks.
Okay, we'll go clockwise according to my screen. Mick, how are you doing? So you've got your oxygen on.
Yes, unfortunately. New friend. Can't get rid of it. Yeah, I'm now at the moment off all antibiotics and steroids. I finished the courses. Chest infection and a UTI, which, touch wood, got to get samples back up to doctors next week to see if it's got rid of that. Joys and pleasures of MOT and service on one's vehicle.
Oh dear.
Very nice man at the garage came and collected it. I said my oxygen tube won't stretch that far. One cylinder won't be enough to take me into Norwich and bring me back again. So I've got to work out how many cylinders I need to carry separately. I haven't got to that bit yet. But he was very nice to come and collect it. And at that point, we decided, we'll get something smaller.
And did you pass its MOT?
Oh, yeah.
Very good.
I know it's a wheelchair access vehicle. It doesn't qualify for any VAT on anything.
Yeah.
So
That's nice.
all the costs come zero VAT, which means the
Excellent.
service and everything is somewhat cheaper. But we did do a deal with the guy who runs the garage for a smaller one. The main problem we got with the one at the moment is that my wife can't jump into it. We'll have to put a caravan step out so she can get into it. Because it's not just it's a van. It's a minibus. Fully decked out for wheelchairs, but scooters. But we decided we're never going to need 2 scooters, so we opted for a smaller one.
You could get a tandem. Do they make those?
Not tandem scooters, not legal in this country yet.
Maybe for the best. I don't know if it would be.
Well, there's a big review going on at the moment.
Oh, is that?
There's a review on the mobility scooter rules and regulations, and we'll see what they come up with on that. Might prove quite interesting. But at any rate, yeah, we done a deal on another vehicle. They brought it round to us yesterday to have a look at, and we said, yes, we'll have that. Sorted out the payments today, and halfway through the bank closed their account. Thank you very much.
Not very helpful.
Not very helpful. Then they phoned me up and start grilling me. Excuse me, why are you asking me all these security questions? Just reinstate my accounts, please. I'm in the middle of a transaction. What are you buying? It's a car. Anything nice? Yes, it takes a wheelchair. That changed her attitude a little bit. Oh, right, okay. But yes, it was resolved.
Jolly good.
It's one thing after another sometimes, isn't it?
So happy all round on that side of things. Infection-wise, not too bad, but still on the ongoing after effects of long-term infections and getting everything adjusted back to normal. Well, back to my normal. That's not normal.
Yeah. Sounds like you're getting by. Just frustrating, yeah. Gail, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. For chest-wise, I had a telephone appointment with Withenshaw last week, a week before maybe, and they've discharged me, which I knew they were going to do because I'm not having any problems, but I'm still getting followed up in Warwick, except I should have been seen in April and I haven't been seen yet, so I probably need to ring and chase that up a bit. Otherwise, yeah, arthritis isn't so good with this hot weather, but we're dealing with that. Otherwise, I'm fine, thank you.
Oh, good. Gwyneth, how are you doing?
Hello, I am improving, but I'm not as well as I'd like to be. So I've just had a chest infection. I've got like 4 days of antibiotics left, and I'm still clearing a lot of muck. So the nurse who came this morning, she's very interested in aspergillosis, which is great. And she's listening to my chest. She heard it at the start of the infection, and I think I've seen her twice since. She said, where it was in like mid section on the right hand side. So that's clear. So now I can hear a slight crackle down the bottom. So she actually cleaned her stethoscope, let me have a listen. I've never heard it before. I took my hearing aids out, had to put them back in because I could hear nothing without them in. So put the stethoscope on top of them. And it was like, she said it's like Velcro when you've got a crackle. And it was like very slow and not as loud as I thought it would be. But again, that could be my rubbish hearing. But I could hear it. And I thought, and I'm just so flipping tired today. she said, "You look really tired." I said, "I am. I don't know why I slept, but I've had a few trips out. I'm just so, I feel better in lots of ways because I feel like I want to go out rather than that to now. I've like, nah, not bothered. All I've done is drive the car to local Sainsbury's, drive the car the other way to another supermarket. All I've done is walk from the car park into the shop, round the shop, and I'm so tired." She said, "I think it's that." She just like, "Oh, for goodness sake, I've sat in the car, driving my car. It's nothing. There's like 10, 15-minute journeys." Oh, so yeah, so I'm feeling a bit, not sorry for myself, but a bit
Yeah.
annoyed, a bit worried that is this infection going to clear up? So I've just had a bit of a snooze this morning, and I sort of came to and I was reading again. I thought, oh, it's like 5 to 1. The talk is on, so I'm improving, but yeah, less
Be gentle with
mucky
yourself.
coughing. I very
Yeah.
find that really hard. Right, yeah, but no, I'm okay.
Oh, I hope that clears up soon.
Mm.
Jackie, how are you? Are you there, or are you just listening? Oh, I can't hear you very well. I can't really hear you.
On it, turn.
We can come back in a minute if you're having technical problems. Belinda, how are you?
Oh, hi. I'll just talk about health, nothing else. Having had a wonderful motorcycle road
Now?
trip, I was really, really well, and I've come back and I've been really, really ill. I've got a chest infection. I'm on my second dose of antibiotics, which are having an awful side effect, ciprofloxacin, because doxycycline didn't work. And so I'm a bit low about it, but I'm sure I'll be better once they've kicked in. I've got an X-ray and blood tests to come. But I haven't had aspergillosis, so as that is the point of this meeting, as far as aspergillosis is concerned, I've been fine. Oops.
Oh, I hope that clears up soon. It seems very unfair getting chest infections in summer. You expect it in January, but oh.
I'll survive.
Jackie, is your microphone okay?
Yes, I had to take my
Uh,
earplug off. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm feeling okay today. A few weeks ago, I had that flare where I was like bringing all that stuff up for like a week, to the point I felt like I was sick, and the doctor gave me an antibiotic, but I think it was more like just to satisfy me, because after I took my shot, the 2 days later, I felt better. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed this time around, and next week's my shot. And so far, so good. Yesterday I had a little clearance, but I'm hoping to stay that way. I was a little tired, but yeah, it's exhausting.
Do you know what caused the flare up, or just one of those things?
No, they say that the medicine wears off a little bit towards the end of before your shot is due. The how you say that word, efficacy or whatever, the effectiveness of it.
Efficacy.
Because it has a little bit of not prednisone, but a anti-inflammatory or something. So maybe that wears. I don't know. That's what they're saying. They're probably just guessing, but it seems like I get a little bit of systematic a week before. So today's 6 days out and I'm okay. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I mean, I'm tired, but I'm not like coughing. And I started PT the other day, pulmonary PT. It was just a consult. And I'll do that on the 16th. And I left there thinking, what the heck did I sign myself up for? Because she's like, you're going to do the treadmill and all this other stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute, this sounds like exercise. But we did talk about that instrument thing. And she was explaining how sometimes that's helpful. And, that little kazoo thing that vibrates the phlegm. And my blood pressure was really low there. And she's like, she thought I was dehydrated or something, but I was fine the next day. So I don't know what that was. I was extremely tired that morning. So
Yeah.
other than that,
Well,
hanging in there.
I hope you feel better when you get your next shot. At least
Yeah.
like when there's an end in sight
Mhm.
to feeling rough. Maybe it's easier to. Okay. Evelyn, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad at the moment. I had a bowel infection earlier in the year, so that was treated. And I've had one course of antibiotics since then because I had a flare up with my chest. But what seems to be a recurring pattern now is that I cough up blood as well. So it starts with, when I get to my point, that I start coughing up with the hemoptysis. So yeah, but having had the antibiotic this time after having the treatment for my gut, I can feel a benefit from the antibiotic. The only complication is nothing's ever straightforward with me. So I've got a gynae situation going on. So that's sort of a bit of a spanner in the works. So I'm hoping it'll be a watch and wait situation and they won't want to do anything. But I shall have to wait and see. I've got a blood test to go for first, and that might decide on which direction I'll be going in. But yes, so I'm managing. Thank you.
Oh, that sounds like a right juggling act.
Yes.
I hope they come up with a goal. So okay, yeah, okay. Well, you're all still here, which is good. Thank you for all coming.
Oh, just before you go, I'll be leaving at 2 o'clock. So if I disappear, it's because I need to go. Actually, all right.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Graham, would you like to do one of your talks, and then I'll do mine after the break? You're on mute.
There we go. I'm not off mute. I'm having to mute because you probably can't hear, but I'm being put off by a seagull's nest above my head on the roof, to wailing away periodically. Because it's a
You're not
flat roof
feeding them enough.
with lots of solar panels that were put up a couple of years ago, and the seagulls love it. But anyway, moving on. Share. Right, what should we have? That one maybe. And then okay, I think you can see that.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I've got a few things to talk about, and this probably best if we do split it up a bit and do Beth in between a little bit, because between all the stuff I've got to talk about on the seagull, I'll probably need a rest. So first things first, what are the viruses doing? And the answer is not very much. Everything's a low. Flu, SARS, RSV, all down low. Rhinovirus, it is regular summertime. So those of you who have got a respiratory infection, it could be this little beastie that's causing it. About 1 in 10 tests that are coming into the surveyor's office are positive for rhinovirus. So that's definitely out there. So be aware, or that I don't know. We are mostly safe from infection at the moment. So I have 3 things I can talk about, and maybe we can choose which one we want to talk about first. The number 1, damp homes, is quite long, so maybe we should leave that for a bit, because it's, I think, half an hour. That's probably not long enough. And then you can have a choice. Do you want to hear about DNA analysis at the bedside, or do you want to hear about improving corticosteroid management?
The latter.
Corticosteroids. Okie dokie. That
Yeah,
kind
number
of
3.
that relates to let's have a look. These are all my slides, believe it or not. Here we go. Corticosteroid management. Okay, so perfect illustration of what we've just been talking about. A lot of people have issues, including fatigue. When you get a flare-up, you get very fatigued. Generally, when you're living with a chronic illness like aspergillosis, you get very fatigued. And up to now, we've had to advise on things like lifestyle changes, regulating the spoons of energy that you may have during the day, and all those are still perfectly relevant. But for probably the first time, I've been looking for examples of treatments that might help fatigue, because fatigue is our number 1 complaint from people with patients with aspergillosis, and this is partly about that. So it's quite interesting. So it's new research for people with adrenal insufficiency who are receiving steroids as a replacement of adrenal insufficiency, which is quite a lot of our aspergillosis patients, because you get put on, a lot of people with ABPA get put on steroids, and it suppresses their adrenal gland, and you don't make your own corticosteroids. So why are we talking about this? Like I've just said, many people with ABPA or severe asthma who are on long-term corticosteroid treatment, so prednisone, prednisolone, that type of thing. Even inhaled steroids can interact with your antifungal medication to reduce this effect. I think we've been caught out a few times in the past, assuming a patient is safe from suppression when all they're doing is inhaling corticosteroids, and normally that is protective, but we do know in combination with, if you're taking antifungal at the same time, then the effect builds up and you get adrenal suppression. Common symptoms, here we are, here include fatigue. If you're on the corticosteroid treatment, it causes things like fatigue, brain fog, poor concentration, low energy, and difficulty getting going. And I'm sure all of you are pretty familiar with that scenario. So are some other people, but it's got nothing to do with corticosteroids, and they haven't got a reason to complain about it. What does cortisol actually do? So the prednisone that you're taking is actually essentially artificial cortisol. And what cortisol does, help regulate your energy levels, but also your blood pressure, your blood sugar, things like immune responses. You know, if you take a high amount of corticosteroid or prednisone, you're suppressing your ability to react to infection, especially if you do it at a high dose for a long time. Things like inflammation, inflammation is what causes breathlessness and limitations in lung function. So its ability to suppress that inflammation is highly prized and very reliable. Can also cause sleep and wakefulness, and also regulates physical and mental performance. In other words, without enough cortisol, we can feel extremely unwell. This is the natural rhythm of cortisol. You can see, if I go up here, you can see it's at midnight, all our cortisol is supposed to be low. That enables us to sleep because we've got low levels. Therefore, we start to feel sleepy. But then as you go through the night, it gradually rises and effectively wakes us up at about 8 o'clock in the morning with a peak of cortisol. Cortisol is part of that process of waking you up. So if you haven't got enough, this is why you have trouble waking up, because you've not got enough. And then gradually during the day it reduces, which is great. If that worked as easily as that, that would be fine. Oops. However, if you don't have enough cortisol because it's suppressed, or other people who have other problems have inactive adrenal glands and they have lack of their own ability to make cortisone. But in our case, we're mainly talking about suppressed cortisone or secondary suppressed suppression, or secondary suppression, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. So the way to protect you from having none, because it's quite dangerous if you have low levels of cortisol, we give you a cortisol tablet or capsule. You can go on prednisone, and most people will be on prednisone, but people on long-term management of their adrenal levels will probably eventually be put on hydrocortisone. And part of the reason for that is hydrocortisone has a much shorter half-life. So when you take it, it more rapidly reduces in your bloodstream compared with prednisone. And as we've just seen, what we're after is an effect where you get one peak in 24 hours, and then it gradually reduces. Prednisone has a longer than 24-hour half-life, I think. But anyway, it doesn't ape that, doesn't copy that rhythm very well. But hydrocortisone has a much smaller, so we can take hydrocortisone multiple times in the day. Most people will wake up with not very much cortisol, so they have difficulty waking up, but will then immediately take their morning tablets, and then cortisol rises and they will start to feel more awake. Many patients will say, I didn't really wake up until an hour after taking my tablets, which is very common. Or my body starts working later than everybody else's. That's because they're making their own cortisol and it peaks at 7 o'clock in the morning. You woke up at 8, and so you don't get any cortisol till about 9 o'clock if you take it straight away. So timing is obviously pretty important with this particular hormone. So what a few groups have done is investigate giving you your cortisol in a more controlled way. Instead of taking it once a day or multiple times in a day with hydrocortisone, why not have something that more closely follows your normal daily rhythm? So what they've invented, and just came out of clinical trials, I think in 2024, was one of these pumps. That pump is giving this patient hydrocortisol through subcutaneous injection in a controlled way. At night, it'll only give the person a little, but as they sleep, it will gradually start giving more and more and more, just like an artificial adrenal gland. And you'll get something a lot closer to this curve. Can we do that? Does it have any different? What difference does it make? Does it have any make any difference at all? Is copying this rhythm important? Well, the technology is there. Hang on, somebody's coming. Helen, the technology is there because this is how insulin is given to some patients these days. If we use the same technology to deliver cortisol, what happens? What happens is there are a number of benefits for patients. They get less fatigue, so having a better timed release of cortisol helps you stay less fatigued, which makes sense if that's what wakes you up. When you get cortisol at the right time instead of an hour after you woke up, you're going to feel less fatigued, and your whole daily cycle will be much less disruptive. You'll get better morning energy. This gives you an improved well-being, no doubt an improved mood, because nothing is more frustrating than not having much energy. And in fact, they've looked on the MRI scanners and detected changes in brain activity. So that's quite useful, because all of these are reported by the patient. There's no actual clinical measure of fatigue. It's just the patient saying, I felt really tired. But if you can actually spot physical changes on a scan, that's not down to the patient's opinion of what's going on, and that's a different type of evidence. So something is happening. So this was a very successful study, and I think it ended around 2024, or certainly they reported it around then, which is really interesting. However, it's not the only experiment that's going on. This one requires that pump and a subcutaneous injection, but they haven't stopped there. The drug designers have come up with another concept, which is less invasive. Something, I don't quite know how you say this, FMOD, chronocort. It's not something I've come across before. Essentially, it's hydrocortisone, but it's in a special capsule, and you take it before bed and in the morning. If you take it before bed, the capsule delays release overnight and slowly releases it as you come to morning. So again, we're copying the normal surge that wakes you up, and it's closer to what healthy adrenal glands do naturally. And it looks like you also take another dose in the morning, presumably a different sort of a dose, so that this provides enough to get you through the day. So that's a way of copying the normal cycle, but without having to give the patient an injection, which is a lot simpler and a little bit safer and no doubt cheaper to deliver. Here we are. There's the cycle as was. Standard tablets do this sort of the thing. The FMOD actually gives you high levels and better follows the normal routine. Patients wake up feeling much better, as you can see in the picture. Researchers tested whether restoring the normal early morning cortisol rise would improve symptoms. Patients reported better quality of life, less fatigue again, which is great, better physical well-being, more physiological cortisol levels. So again, that's something that is not subject to how the patient feels. That's measured in your blood, in the blood of the people in the study. More importantly, not more steroid, just smarter timing. It's the same dose of steroid, it's just delivered in a better, smoother way. We're seeing positive benefits to patients' quality of life, which is fantastic. And it's known as the Champagne study. This just reported this year, so this is very new. So that's very encouraging. Oops, Gail. What else have I written about this? Very encouraging. Might timing matter? Think of cortisol as the body's wake-up signal. The brain, muscles, and immune system are all expecting that signal first thing in the morning. Well, in fact, before we wake up, if it arrives late, energy is lower, concentration is poorer, fatigue is worse, and we can actually prove that now with the new studies. So you're not imagining it. You are fatigued, and it is caused by your medication. In fact, not really your medication, but the way your medication is being delivered in a tablet once or twice a day. So that's one aspect of the research. This gives us the distinct result that restoring natural timing may actually help restore your quality of life to what it was before you had to take the drug, which would be really encouraging. Like I say, this is new to me, so it's all relatively recent research. But the prospect of cutting fatigue and improving well-being for aspergillosis patients is amazing. That would make a big difference. Never mind the new antifungals, never mind the new biologics, just helping you feel better. This is an example of research aimed at the patient's needs rather than the scientific purpose or the medical purpose. You can get through the day with fatigue, but you have a crappy day. If we can change that, you have a much better day, and that helps everything. In the past, that would have been thought of maybe not as important, but now clearly it's we're listening to patients, and this is an example of that feeding through into research. It's a little bit like this was an analogy. It's a little bit like your plant. A pot plant needs 7 litres of water a week. If you give it all in one go, the pot plant is not at all happy. But if you give it a little bit every day, the pot plant is really happy, and it's much the same principle. Why this matters? Many patients say, and in our surveys on Facebook, we've heard all this as well. Many patients tell us my blood tests are okay, so medically you're fine, but I still feel exhausted. And fatigue may be caused by lung disease, poor sleep, inflammation, reduced fitness, medication side effects, and adrenal insufficiency. So we're actually showing that we can change one factor, and it could have make a big difference. What might the future look like? Well, that's fairly obvious. It doesn't look like it's quite sure yet which is the best approach, using the pump, because that's established hardware that we know works long term for a chronic illness, which is diabetes. But if we could develop a way to make those slow release capsules work as well, that will be another type of treatment that could be offered to patients. The modified release stuff, anyone who's been on cortisol will know that that is available in a modified release form. So certainly the science is there. It can be done, and this cannot be too far away from being offered. I haven't seen any hint from NSE what they are going to do about it, but I think these studies are leading towards much better understanding and much better management of patient fatigue in the future, which would be fantastic. Key messages: fatigue remains a major challenge for many patients. Healthy cortisol production follows a natural rhythm. Standard replacement does not fully reproduce that rhythm, but these studies suggest that timing of your dose matters a lot, at least with regard to fatigue. Better cortisol replacement may improve quality of life, which has been shown in these patients in these studies. This is an exciting area of research with potential future benefits. Okay, so I think this was meant to be a discussion if we had plenty of time, but I think everyone in the group knows people, if they're not themselves short on adrenal function, then they know other members of the group who are short on adrenal function. And I think we know that fatigue is a big challenge. We've actually had it demonstrated today. At least 2 people have been commenting that how tired and how fatigued they are. Fatigue, of course, isn't just being tired. Fatigue is fatigue. Fatigue is something, you're tired when you go to sleep and you're just as tired when you wake up. Tiredness, you feel better. Fatigue doesn't make any difference. It's a medical condition caused partly by your illness and partly, as it has been shown here, by your medication and how it is given and the timing of how it is given. There we go. So, Beth, that's my first one done, or first 2 done.
Cool. That was really interesting. It would be amazing if you could get if you end up with sort of different pumps for different things, like if somebody was diabetic and needed cortisol as well, because that must be horrendous to try and juggle.
Both, yes.
Yeah, if you can get a few different ones.
Linda's going to
you've
hand
got a
up.
question. Sorry,
that was really interesting, but I'm sure, like a lot of people who have tried to take steroids at night, you don't sleep, so it makes perfect sense to take them in the morning. I'm only on a very low dose again, but I'm still absolutely exhausted all the time, and the list of things that might be the reason certainly might be, in my case, that I'm not very fit, but I'm not healthy enough to get fit, so it's a vicious circle in a way. The idea of this pump, it seems a very difficult uncomplicated thing to do in order to make sure that you take your tablets in the morning. I've got to admit, I would be really anxious about having a pump inserted. I mean, apart from the fact that that's just another reason to have needles, which I'm not keen on at all. I'm quite capable of taking my steroids first thing in the morning, although fortunately I'm down to having just a hydrocortisone equivalent now, and it might take a little time to kick in, even though it's a low dose, but I'm happy to wait for that. People who have got jobs, morning jobs, it might be more useful for them because they need an earlier kick if they're unwell and they need it. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there are pros and cons for each approach. The capsules are going to be useful to different patient populations, probably. But I completely get that. If you're comfortable with your quality of life now, then there's no reason to change.
One might not say quality of life because I'm ill, and I'm tired, and so on. But if you mean, yeah, the way I'm taking it in the first thing in the morning, it's all one can do.
we could get everyone cats on prescription to come and trample on their face at 7 a.m. when it's breakfast time. That's one quick way to wake up. It's not a pleasant one though.
No, I prefer a coffee, thank you very much, and a nice big one.
Do you remember like in comic books they used to have like a teas made where you put all the water and everything in the night before and it just makes the coffee?
You still get those?
According to a timer.
You still get those, and my parents lived by it. Yeah,
that's quite cool.
But I need to make my own coffee on my machine, thank you. The way I like it, with a teaspoon of brandy.
Ooh.
So I've got another 2, or do you want to do something, Beth?
Do you want to do your second, like if whichever is shorter, and then we can have a break, and then I'll do the NTM.
Okay. What is the next one? Let's just have a look.
Is it the DNA? That sounded interesting.
There we go. I've got that already queued up. The goals have gone asleep, if that's of any help. Right, slides. There we go. This is much shorter because there we have got one of the people in the group that are developing this to come and talk to us. It's being done at MFT's, I think they call it something like genomic research people. which is interesting. They contacted us a couple of months ago, wanting to use this technology with this group of people. Again, this is some technology that has been used for other illnesses. It's routine in what was it? I think it was. I can't remember. It was one of the big ones, COPD or something, where the people are also on chronic medication or might need to take a new chronic medication that's quite unpredictable. And as you will know, that most people, for example, who have to take an antifungal drug, it takes a few weeks, maybe a couple of months, to actually work out what the right dose is. And this technology is meant to help shorten that period dramatically. In this case, we're talking about antifungal medication. We should know now that if you're given itraconazole for the first time, it's pretty unpredictable. Once it hits your stomach and it gets absorbed, sometimes it's absorbed really well, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's absorbed okay, but then it's broken down very quickly in the liver of a particular patient. Sometimes it doesn't get broken down very quickly at all. In a nutshell, and this goes for voriconazole at least as well, and probably to a lesser extent posa. We give you a standard dose. It's very difficult to predict what the blood levels of that dose are going to be until we do blood tests, until we see what side effects, if any, you are having. And this in a non-specialist area, because you can now be given itraconazole for things like, I think you can be given it by your GP. The others are still under the sort of the specialist register where the GPs can't prescribe, but I think itraconazole is prescribable by a GP. And once that happens, the GPs don't have access to the specialized blood testing that we do so much. So you end up with people on completely unpredictable levels in their blood. And as long as it's only for a few weeks, that might be okay. Whereas we generally are prescribing to people for over months and many months. But it could still, I regularly read about people being given things like itraconazole and they are stopped and taken off it because they have wild side effects. Well, that could easily be because the blood levels are very high and the doctor simply has no idea that has happened. He just assumes the patient's not getting up with the drug. There are not many drugs, so we need to make the most of every antifungal we've got. And if you're taken off too quickly without checking blood levels, that can reduce your choices. If you are given a blood level check and we realize it's so high, then we would reduce the dose and get you into the correct therapeutic window, as it's called. Okay, so why do antifungal medicines affect people differently? More or less what I've just said. Our bodies process medicines at different speeds. Some break medicines down quickly, some slowly. And it also can be caused by other medications that you are taking. For example, steroids can inhibit the breaking down of antifungal medications. And in their turn, steroids, antifungal medication can slow down the breakdown of steroid medications. So you've really got to control both of them to get the right levels in your blood and ensure you're getting enough, but not too much. The right dose for one person may not be the right dose for another. Aspergillosis treatment certainly is not one size fits all. We use TDM, as we call it. Therapeutic drug monitoring is what that means. Simply we take some blood and we test that blood for the amount of antifungal medication that is in it. As I've just said, we normally start treatment at a standard dose, wait for the medicine to build up, which might take a week, then take a blood sample, test the amount of drug in that blood, adjust the dose if needed. We want drug levels that are high enough to work, but not so high that they cause side effects. Some people in non-tested situations, I suspect, they give up because it's not having any impact. Well, it might be they're not getting enough in their blood. Because it hasn't been tested, we don't know. Common side effects when levels are too high. I think a lot of you will be familiar with things like visual disturbances, especially voriconazole, nausea, headaches, tiredness again. So if we can get the levels of this drug right, we can again cut down on tiredness and fatigue. And they can cause liver problems, and that's what a lot of patients are mostly concerned about. But livers are very resilient organs, and even if you get a few liver problems for a few weeks or even a few months, your liver will recover completely 100% fine once the dose level is dropped. Finding the Goldilocks dose, it can be summed up as not too little, not too much. There is a new research project happening here, as I have said, to help this process and give us another tool to speed up this process, because we don't want you on a medication for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks and suffering side effects if we can possibly avoid it. So how can we predict the right dose sooner? Well, researchers are developing tests that look at how quickly your body processes medicines. The way to do that is to look at the enzymes in the liver, in your liver, that help break down these drugs. Instead of waiting weeks to see how a patient responds, we may be able to identify those of you who break down drugs, particularly antifungals, quickly, those who are average and those who are slow. And it all depends on your particular genetic situation. If we can succeed at doing this, we can have fewer dose changes, faster optimization of treatment, which will lead to fewer side effects and better treatment outcomes because we will have the right dose faster. This is all very compliant with the modern imperative, which is to use all our medicines better at the right time and the right amount for the right reason, called stewardship. And you might hear a lot about antimicrobial stewardship in the coming years if you haven't heard about them already. I will certainly be writing articles about it. What could this mean? Most patients need several blood tests, dose adjustments, a period of trial and error. In the future, there may be a simple bedside test that can help doctors understand how your body handles antifungal medications before problems occur. This could help make treatment more personalized, more effective and safer. And this is all part of the steps that we've been talking about for the last 5 or 10 years to personalized medicine, making your dose the one that's right for you. And that's a different dose than most other people in the clinic or most other people in the country. It will be the right dose for you. And this is one way that we're setting out to achieve that. Important to remember, we're still evaluating this. That's what the point of this trial will be in this particular group. It's not doing away with what we currently rely on, which is therapeutic drug monitoring and blood tests. They'll be there very much as a way of getting the levels right. This is an extra additional tool. The aim is not to replace current monitoring, but to improve it. And every person is different. What this test will be, because I don't think I do any more about that, what this test we're going to talk about, and we should have someone coming to talk about it next month or maybe the month after, will be a simple swab, which will, let's stop sharing. It's a cheek swab, and they'll swab your cheek, and then that process, they pick up enough cells and enough DNA. I don't know if you've ever seen any program on TV where they've swabbed the inside of someone's cheek, rinsed it into some water, and then extracted the DNA. You can get a surprising amount of DNA from a cheek swab. That cheek swab will be taken to a machine, and in 1 hour it can tell you what your levels of liver enzymes are that cause the differences between different people in drug levels in their blood in 1 hour. So then you'll be able to tell you whether you're a fast metabolizer, an average one, or a slow one, and we can adjust your first dose according to that information. It's not, it's, 5 years ago we'd be thinking, yeah, that's going to take another 10 years. But no, it's here now, it's already being used, and we're just adapting that technology for aspergillosis patients in particular, because they're exposed to antifungal medication and so on. So it's really good. It will be really helpful. It will again be improving patients' quality of life. It will again be stopping people using too much antifungal drug. It will save antifungal drug. We'll be using the right amount in the right patient for the right reasons. Refining how we manage patients in aspergillosis. So that's my second talk. Do you want to go on, Beth?
Very interesting. Do people want a 5-minute break to make coffee, or do we want to just go straight on? Any preferences?
I'm going to have to go soon because I've got a blood test, but that was fascinating. Thank you so much.
That's the future. That's what's happening.
Yeah, that's really good. You didn't mention how some people don't take itraconazole all the time, and for the first time in years, I've been advised to have a break from it and start off again at the beginning of autumn, when most of us, I'm sure, get it worse, get aspergillosis worse because of the time of year and the earth.
Yeah. There are many benefits to having a drug holiday. I remember people being horrified 5 years ago when we started to say, actually, we don't know if you need to take this all of the time. Why not see if having a holiday makes your situation worse, doesn't make you any worse. You may reduce all those side effects, make you feel better, give you a better quality of life, and not affect your aspergillosis too much. Most people have been tried with that now. It's a good idea for an article to write. Actually, that's something I could write about. Thank you for that. I'll write it down.
What's your third talk about? I hate that I might miss it.
So the last talk is from Shruti, who's our new PhD student, who was supposed to come, but was terrified of meeting you guys. So
the horror.
She's quite young. So she's doing what we're doing is we're looking at people's homes. We're looking at damp and mold, but we are looking at our patient and our patient population. And we want to do a citizen science project where maybe get 100, 200, 300 people. I think we've got about 50 volunteers so far. And we'll send you a sampling kit to sample what's in your home. We know your medical history, so we know how those two match up, and we'll assess what's in your microbial sample. And that'll be the subject of this PhD. So we need people to sign up. Initially, it's just an I'm interested sign up, which is on the website. And I'll put it out in Telegram and those places.
Count me in. Can I just say, didn't someone, I forget his name, but there was a guy that you introduced us to who did a mould study, and he certainly came around my flat and was able to analyze how much mould there was in each room. And we were shocked that even in the room with no plants, and we have since got rid of a bloody great big plant, even in the one with no plants, there was still mould in the air.
There's been one or two.
Yeah.
I say there's been one or two. We have. I don't think we have for a long time. Specifically, diagnostics have been sending people out to particular patients' houses who flagged up that they think the house is contributing to their symptoms, because that's our interest. We're not particularly interested in everything in your home. We're interested in are the microbes making you feel more poorly, and if so, how? And just to get more information about what that interaction is like. So all the medical team are involved. Shruti's just the student in the middle who's terrified of patients. So
We'll
so
have
that
to
should
get
be
her
really
over that.
interesting.
She'll be all right.
Yeah, I have asked for volunteers before, and I think I think there's about 40 signed up. So the more people who sign up, the better. You'll all get a kit. And what we're doing today is Shruti's written a questionnaire along with our medical guys. And in order to start using that and start sending it out, we have to get ethical approval. And to get ethical approval, you've got to get patients' input into the questionnaire. So that's what we're doing today, asking for your opinions on the questionnaire. So I can send out the questionnaire. I've put the questionnaire into Facebook and into one or two, so you can still participate. I'm just raising the intention. That's what this is for, and that's what we'll go through. It's quite a lot, so it'll probably take more than half an hour to go through it all. And then once you've given your opinions, I've actually got a few opinions of myself, which I'll flag up. We have a little discussion. Shruti was supposed to write all this down, but it'll be left. We've got it all recorded, so she can watch the recordings and do it that way. So yeah, it's important in the next step in our research in this direction. As you can see, research is really kicking in now. We've had this big lull over the pandemic, and now we've got 2 PhD students and 2 companies working with us, wanting to develop these other new treatments I've just been talking about. So it's all going on, which is great.
Okay, I'm sorry I'll miss it. I'll be leaving soon.
There's always the recording.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Is it open to patients, or is it any citizens?
I would say anyone who wants to get involved, then at this stage, we're just asking you to sign up and show an expression of interest, which is just a little form where we'll save your email address, which is online, and I'll put that into Facebook. I've already put it into Facebook and a few other places, but I'll do it again. And I don't think it matters whether you've got ABPA or CPA. It's just the more the merrier. They did that big study in London at University College, where Jenny something got 680 people in her citizen science, and that was just to collect soil samples from the garden. We would love to get anywhere near that figure, but at the moment we've got about 40 or 50, so we need plenty more. I don't think you even need. We're going to need controls who haven't got aspergillosis, I would have thought. So yeah, we just need the population to work with at the moment.
Yeah, I could put it in the clinician newsletter, send it to loads of them at once.
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay, shall I do my NTM talk now then?
Okay.
Yes. So we've mentioned NTM kind of in passing before. The reason I'm doing more of a structured talk about it now is I don't think it doesn't affect anyone in online now, does it? I don't think, but it's one of those infections that can happen alongside aspergillosis. So I thought it'd be really good if we have a video, and for anybody that's watching later, just to really understand how these 2 infections work together, because they tend to go hand in hand, unfortunately. Let me get my slides. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay, so Aspergillus and NTM. So NTM, it's a type of mycobacterium. So you've probably heard that word before, in the context of tuberculosis. So that's a species, it's a bacteria. It's called Mycobacterium tuberculosis, the one that causes TB. It spreads from person to person, and that quite often occurs before or alongside aspergillosis, because the damage it causes in the lungs, it can make little cavities, or just parts where the lungs just a bit damaged, structurally, and that's a really good environment for Aspergillus to start growing, and it can really get a foothold in these places. So of people who've had TB and been cured of it, but it's left behind cavities, about 1 in 5 will get CPA afterwards, which is really sad. And it affects a lot of people, especially in developing countries. A lot of people don't know that it's CPA because the testing they get it's just inadequate, really. And also sometimes TB, when you test for it, you get just a false negative result. They call it smear negative TB. So they can't see any TB, but they just assume it's TB and treat it as if it is. But sometimes it's actually CPA. So the person just gets worse and worse. So that is something that we're doing a project at NAC, not a clinical trial, but just reviewing records. I don't know when that would be published though. Because our hospital, obviously, we've got the aspergillosis service, and and MFT also has 5 TB clinics. So we've got some patients that are in both clinics. So that one of the clinical fellows is having a look at all the parameters there. So a cousin of tuberculosis is this NTM, non-tuberculous mycobacterium. So a tubercle is just like a little bobble, like a you know how you hear like potatoes and root veggies called tubers, just like a mass basically. So it's not a single species. There's like 180 different ones, which I'm not going to list here, but the common ones that you might see on your test results are things like Mycobacterium chimera or abscessus, or there's one that's called MAC, so it's Mycobacterium avium complex. So it's you don't really need to know all the different names. They're reasonably similar, but sometimes they have slightly different treatments or whatever. So it lives environmentally. It's in the soil or water is where people usually pick it up from. And the risk factors for this infection are things like COPD, bronchiectasis, cystic fibrosis, or interstitial lung disease. And another thing that makes it more likely that you might catch it is if you have GERD, so reflux, like gastroesophageal reflux disease, just because it's if the acid comes back up and it goes in your lungs, it can cause a bit of damage that makes it more likely for this to grow. So people that have NTM start off with NTM, about 7% of them, so that's 1 in 14, will go on to develop CPA. I couldn't find any data for the other way round. So people that have CPA, how many then get NTM? I couldn't find any data for that because it's not as well known an infection. So they're Aspergillus, like CPA and NTM. There's a lot of similarities between the two diseases. So they're both long-term infections that are caused by germs that you find you just pick it up from the environment. Like it's not from person to person, it's just something you get from sort of soil, water, and both of them tend to only affect people with some kind of underlying lung damage, and quite often reasonably, like, they seem to co-occur, but like there's more people than you would think by chance that have both. Like it's not everyone, it's not inevitable, but there really does seem to be an association, but we don't know much about it yet. So there's a little bit of lab data where they kind of grow the different cultures separately and then put the liquid from one culture onto the other one and see what happens. It does look like they help each other grow, maybe by several mechanisms, like one of them affects how the macrophages work, or and sort of each other's growth rates, but that's at quite an early stage. So it would be I don't think you could apply that to a specific patient, for example. And one of the really annoying things about this is it's really hard to be sure which symptoms are due to which organism. So if somebody's deteriorating, like we get these kind of cases quite often in the MDT, the more complex cases, we get people presenting someone who they're getting worse and they're coughing more, they're losing weight, but it's not easy to know which of the two germs needs the treatment urgently. So it is a tricky one. So the symptoms are really, really, really similar. So both of them cause cough, fatigue, weight loss, lots of sputum, especially quite thick sputum, fever or night sweats. Both of them, you can get hemoptysis, not everyone, but sometimes. I think NTM, it's less common, but it still happens. Even on a scan, there are a lot of cases where it's not conclusive because both of them can be associated with cavities or form little nodules. So there's some extra features that can kind of help tip the diagnosis in one way or the other. I've actually put that in the wrong column there. It should say pleural thickening for CPA. That's to do with like the membranes that wrap around the lungs and protect them. They can be you can see changes in them with CPA. That's one of the really, really characteristic signs. Diagnosis to tell between them, the main thing is the sputum cultures, because they grow on different types of agar, and once you've grown something, you've got a conclusive answer about what species it is. And again, in the wrong column, sorry. With Aspergillus, you would look at the IgG and IgE levels to see whether there's a lot of that present or not. What makes it even more difficult is that both of them, they can cause a full-on infection, or they can just colonize the lungs, which means it's living in there and the tests will come back positive, but they're not really causing the disease. Like there's maybe not that much of it, but it is difficult to know. It's difficult to draw like a cutoff between colonization and infection, especially with cultures, because it's not the most sensitive test. Like you quite often will get a false negative with cultures. Like even when one of it is growing, it won't always grow in the lab very well for you. So it is tricky. So people, this is a graph, the statistic I said earlier, where people who start off with NTM then sometimes go on to develop CPA. This is just a graph showing over time, so that everybody in this graph, they all had NTM at initial time point. And then over time, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, you see the proportion that also have CPA, it starts to creep up a little bit more each year, especially if it was NTM disease. If it's only NTM colonization, the risk of CPA isn't as high, but it's still more than if you didn't have it there at all. So NTM, the treatment is it's quite a long-term treatment, so a year or two, or maybe even quite long-term, and it tends to be a combination of antibiotics, because with long-term infections, what you really, really don't want is for the bacteria to become resistant to the antibiotics. So if you give a combination of maybe 2 or 3, I think is normal, it really just blitzes them to get rid of them as quick as possible, and then there's nothing to get resistant and grow back. There's other things as well, like sputum clearance is very important, and there's other sort of lifestyle things, like same as with aspergillosis, things like diet you can look at and try and optimize it for the individual patient. Oops. But why this causes a problem, especially if you've got aspergillosis and NTM, For a start, everyone reacts differently to the different drugs, like Graham was saying earlier, and you have the TDM. But with the drugs for the NTM and the drugs for the aspergillosis, a lot of them interact with each other. And you can probably imagine if you've got 3 antibiotics for the NTM and then an antifungal for the aspergillosis, and then whatever other medications you're taking for other reasons, people can end up on a lot of different medications at once. And the interactions between them, it gets very, very complicated. So you really have to have a specialist pharmacist to just check everything through and really keep an eye on all the levels and all the side effects. Because things like, so there's one called rifampicin, and it interacts with azold and caspofungin. So if you take rifampicin, then the level of the antifungal in your blood goes down. So the aspergillosis could potentially get worse. Whereas a different one, ethambutol, if you take that for NTM, if you're also on voriconazole, the voriconazole level might go up, in which case you might get more side effects and toxicity, which is obviously also not great. So it's really important to make sure the TDM, the drug monitoring, is being done if you're on one of these combinations. And there's another one called amikacin, and that makes amphotericin even worse, which obviously it's bad enough at the best of times, so we don't need it being made worse. There's a tool, a lot of this information, it's online, so it's at www.antifungalinteractions.org, and that's a website it's for patients or for professionals. So that could be a link that you could share with your pharmacist or your doctor. They might find it interesting. So if you're on one of these terrible cocktail, these really complex cocktails, there's a few things you can do to try and minimize how much of a problem you get from it. First of all, if you are eligible to pay for your prescriptions, you definitely want to look up the NHS prepayment certificate, because you'll save a lot of money that way. It would be good to keep like a list in the front of your diary, maybe, of which medications you're on at the moment and which doses, and just a note of which ones need to be taken with food, which ones need to be taken in the morning, or which ones should be taken on an empty stomach, because it can get complicated. If you're on one of these combinations and you're just really struggling to tolerate it, like you just feel gross all the time, that's something that it's worth having a chat with, if you're a NAC patient, with our team, or with your pharmacist if you're somewhere else, because there are things that they can do to help tolerating the medications. So things like anti-nausea tablets and things like that, or there's some that you can sort of split. You can take it half in the morning and half in the evening instead of all at once. Just little tweaks like that can really just make it more comfortable and more tolerable over time. There's a few things that you really need to watch out for, and if they happen, you have to contact someone urgently. So any changes in your vision or your hearing, or if you get palpitations, that's you need to get that checked very urgently. If you get a bad upset stomach, so I don't know if anyone else has seen the Pepto-Bismol advert, but the little guy, he's from that advert. He's the diarrhea man, poor thing. Yeah, so yeah, you could get an upset stomach. If you start turning yellow, that's always an emergency. If you get any weird rashes that you didn't get before, or if any of your tendons start not feeling right or hurting, then you have to get that checked out. Another thing is, when you're on these so many medications, always check with your doctor before you take any vitamins or supplements or things you've bought online, because there's quite a few that will interact with this in not good ways. If you've got reflux, that will need to be addressed and to keep on top of it. And as ever, if you're smoking, it's a good time to stop. If you want to find out more, there's a couple of good charities. In the UK, there's one called ntmpatientcare.uk. That's a really good one. They've got like a lot more information and like patient stories, things like that. And there's an American one called NTM Info and Research. They run some support groups. I'm not sure if they do any that, because of the time zones, I'm not sure if they do any that work for the UK, but they've got a lot of information as well. They seem quite reputable. Okay, that was all I needed to say about that. Hopefully it won't affect, hopefully no one gets it. But it's just
might be worth mentioning that the same specialist, especially here in NAC, will almost certainly treat you for both types of infection. As we've got a NAC and we have a big TB section as well, all in the same infectious diseases directorate, which is what we all work for.
It makes it much better because you can just shout out in the main room, hey, does anybody know? And everyone's together. Oh, Gwyneth, you've got a question.
I'm always looking not to get things. Obviously a bit late on really, but you know. So you say water, you mean like dirty stagnant water, puddle water? What do you mean?
One of the websites has a list of things you can do to reduce your exposure. I couldn't give you a solid answer on who should try and avoid that. It's things like cleaning shower heads, and I think like being a bit cautious about public water fountains and stuff.
Oh, I would never.
So generally our drinking water is clean.
Yeah.
But if your shower head is stuck there in the open air, which is probably calcified if it's in a hard area, so that will attract growth of bugs and things. So those obvious areas where you might get on your taps as well, where air and water mix, I guess will be the areas that you could catch, but you would probably have to be vulnerable to worry about it.
Yeah, I think it's not very, very common, but I don't think we have a straight answer about exactly who needs to be careful from aspergillosis side. Like if somebody was on chemotherapy or something, they would probably want to do those things. I think it's a bit like, have you heard of Legionnaire's disease that people are getting from hot water? It's a little bit more like that, like where there's kind of water that's hanging around. But I think in the UK, our building regulations, hot water tanks that's why they're so scalding hot, is for things like this. When you wash your hands at the shopping centre and you're like, ow, I'm burning.
It's also why taps, and you'll notice in a hospital, and you're ever sat in a room with a tap, you'll notice the tap leaks periodically. I don't know if it's every half an hour or so, and about a pint of water comes out and then it stops. That's not the tap that's faulty. That's promoting flow of water through the whole system, so you don't get bacteria like NTM.
Oh, that's interesting.
There's a plan to it all.
Yeah, well, that wasn't happening in my hospital room. No, it didn't leak.
Doesn't have to happen very often. It's just ensuring circulation. If it's completely still for a few days, then you may run into problems. Might not be everywhere. That's certainly one thing that happens.
So I don't know if you know this. So if you're talking about cleaning tap heads, what am I cleaning it with?
I don't know about normal taps, because obviously a shower head, you can take the whole thing out.
Yeah.
Give it a good rinse with whatever you would like, vinegar or whatever you normally use. Get all the scale out. I would have to look up what you do for.
I think it is about the scale, isn't it? So your normal tap might accumulate scale around the nozzle. So keep
Yeah.
it free of that
Okay.
using vinegar or some acid.
Yeah.
I've just bought 5 litres of acid to do a similar thing on brickwork to get all the carbonates off.
Yeah, I think in the
Okay.
UK, like the NHS hospitals, they have really fixed sort of schedules and protocols for cleaning right into the taps because they have to be
Right.
so careful. I think it's more like if you went on holiday to somewhere that had different building regulations,
Mm.
and if you were a bit unsure about sort of the hot water, I think the UK is not too. I think the UK is relatively safe for this kind of thing, but
Okay.
not every. I think the States isn't as strict.
Mm. Interesting. I'm not going abroad anyway, so okay. Thank you.
Right, should I get on with my bit? My last
Yeah.
bit?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Okay. So as I said, I've written a load of slides for this, but it's much too long, I think. So I'll try and skip over bits as I come to them. But just to summarize, as mentioned earlier, Shruti is a new PhD student who's come here for 3 years to study here. She's one of 2, which is nice because it means we have someone who sits with us. The purpose of the study is to look at the relationship between damp homes, mould, and human health. Okay, so it's a citizen science damp homes and health project. Just to quickly summarize, nearly everyone has encountered damp or mould in the home at some point, and a lot of them have questions. Is the mould making me ill? Is the mould causing asthma? Does mould worsen existing lung disease, and so on? Are children at risk? They're all important questions, and the answers to some of those questions, or the beginnings of the answer to some of those questions, are what we're trying to get to. What is damp? Well, damp is obviously water, but water in the wrong place, because some parts of your home, water is meant to be in the bathroom and in the kitchen and in the clothes washing, the laundry. Someplace it's not. It's not meant to be condensing on your windows. It's not meant to be leaking through your roofs. It's not meant to have plumbing leaks. And if you've got older houses, you sort of older than about 1920, there's a risk of rising damp. And of course, lots of people are at risk of things like flooding. If you see damp and you see mold, it's not a good thing, period. But many of your bathroom will have protective measures, waterproof coverings of most of the walls, the use of materials that don't degrade due to damp, plasterboard that's lined with foil and things like that. And they will all have extractor fans to try and keep damp to a minimum. If it does get damp, you can see the mold as those black smuts on walls most often, or on the ceiling. I think I've got a picture of that next. And those are usually a fungi. Then often not Aspergillus. They can be penicillin, and a lot of them are allergenic, but they're not. Things like penicillin are not pathogenic, so they can't infect you. So it is complicated. You can see all this stuff, and underneath the stuff that you can see are the things you can't see: bacteria, insects, mites. There are gases released from materials that get wet, called volatile organic compounds, particulates, dust, and allergens that make your nose run. And I've lived in homes where it's been very damp in the autumn, because sometimes damp is restricted to one season or so, as we all go indoors, and that made us all our noses run. a young child at the time. My son, who's now a lot older, nose is running all the time, and that's due to the allergens in the atmosphere caused by the damp in an old home. It's not a simple situation. It's a very complicated, mixed situation, and that makes research difficult. This is the typical signs of damp around a window, where water is condensing on colder surfaces and is not evaporating quickly. All that area becomes damp and mold is able to grow, and you get this sort of thing happening. You also get it on internal walls and that type of thing. It can be aspergillus, it can be penicillium. Well, let's just move that out of the way. A common one is cladosporium and alternaria. These are all things that will make most people's noses run. They're all allergen producers, but not necessarily toxic and not necessarily something that's going to infect you. It's found everywhere, and I think we all know in all the different situations where you can find aspergillus, for example. And of course, as aspergillosis patients, aspergillus is the main thing that we worry about, you coming into contact with more pathogens that are already growing in your lungs. Higher risk groups, people with lung disease, people with COPD, people with taking high levels of immune suppressive drugs, that type of thing. We do know older adults, sort of 75, 80 plus, and very young children, babies under the age of 4 or 5 are vulnerable. And in my case, that child I was talking about was under the age of 4 or 5, and he was vulnerable to those allergens. In our case, we moved out and the situation cleared up straight away. We know there's lots of, you're probably aware of, there's lots of information on the internet about what happens when you live in a home with damp and mold. But the truth is, a lot of the things that are raised, like mycotoxin inhalation, that type of thing, are not proven to have any impact at all. And the things that are proven are listed here. We know that they cause respiratory systems, cough, wheeze, breathlessness, chest tightness. We know it causes allergic disease, allergic rhinitis, which was the problem with my son. Sensitization to fungi, asthma exacerbations are common, and the usual poor old quality of life is reduced quite often, quite dramatically. For example, by stress associated with poor housing conditions. The evidence for all these is strong and consistent across many studies, so we believe that these are reliable symptoms. Asthma certainly is people with asthma are at risk of all these things. Increased medication requirements are common if you already have asthma. We know if a young child is kept in a damp home, quite a lot of those young children under the age of 2 will develop asthma. We also know that adults can develop asthma in those environments. A common question from people with aspergillosis: did my damp home cause my aspergillosis? It seems logical. You have a fungus growing in your lungs, which is also growing on the walls of your home. Surely there must be a link. And the honest answer is sometimes there may be a contribution, but if the direct cause is difficult to prove. Your aspergillus is everywhere, so you could have inhaled it outdoors, at work, through hobbies like gardening, through compost, through visiting other buildings, and so on. The relationship is very complex. What we can say for sure is indoor mold may contribute to exposure, but is rarely the whole study. However, that of course is what our study is designed to study. Patients with APPA are allergic to aspergillus, so the presence of aspergillus in their homes may trigger immune responses and asthma, for example. Although individual sensitivity varies a lot, so again, even that's not straightforward. There are important gaps in knowledge. We do not fully understand why some people become ill and others do not. That's a central question. Which mold species matter the most? Some are more allergenic than others. Some of those cladosporiums and alternaria are highly allergenic, while some aspergilluses are not. So it's not a given that one aspergillus is causing the problem if you're having allergic responses. How much exposure is needed to cause problems is a major question, which we're unlikely to solve in this study. The role of genetics, well, we probably know a lot about your genetics, so we might be able to make some conclusions around that. The role of the immune system, the combined effects of mold, dust, bacteria, and pollutants, just make a very complicated situation. And we've been talking about this since the 1980s. It's a very complicated situation. We used to call it sick building syndrome. It's been refined since then, but we're gradually getting answers, but not at a fast rate. As I said, it's easy to find alarming claims online, and if at the end of those claims they're saying, call me out, I will test your home, or I will send you tests and I will charge you lots of money to do so, then don't do it. There are lots of tests available online that they'll sell you from. More recently, the companies in America selling those have changed their names from River Labs to something else. All they're doing is selling you a test. They're not telling you that test is telling you anything about your illness, anything about aspergillosis, anything about asthma. They're just selling you a test. So what they're doing is legal. They're selling you a test. If they try and interpret it with regard to your health, then they are overstepping the mark, and some of them attempt to do that. So that is the source of a lot of people losing a lot. I mean, these things can cost hundreds of pounds. It's a waste of money for the most part. Most experts agree damp and mold can affect health. I think that's unarguable. The environment should be improved, and good evidence should guide good decisions. Basically, if you've got a damp home, cure the damp home. Don't spend money doing anything else. Spend your money on making your home dry and safe, and improve your environment. Don't spend it on expensive tests. What can people do? Report and document. Reduce indoor humidity, so ventilate, fans, ventilation. At the moment in the summertime, windows open on both sides of your building to allow airflow work very well. In the winter, it's more difficult, and that's when the kitchen fans and things come into effect. Fans that are switched on and on automatically by excess humidity are a really good idea, but they're at the more expensive end of the fans. Could cost you £150 for one of those. A standard fan costs you about £15, so you can see why builders tend to fit the cheap ones. Seek professional remediation. I'm going to write an article about this fairly soon, because people like RICS, the Royal Institute for Chartered Surveyors, is producing good information around this now. Okay, so our project began because patients repeatedly told us, I think my home is affecting my health. Many felt concerned, uncertain, not listened to, or unsure where to seek help. So we realized there was a need to gather better evidence, and that's what we're setting out to do. So the more the merrier, the more people join our citizen science project, the more volunteers, the more information we will be able to get. And we haven't sent any test out yet. We're at the are you interested stage. So after this, I will, I think I've got an image of a link which takes you to a form on a web page that you just put your email, your name, and I think your email address, and that's all that's there. And that's just you saying, yes, I'm interested. Please, when you're ready, please send me a questionnaire. And then we can kickstart the project. The goal is to understand what's happening. We're not trying to say people are doing things wrong. We're just trying to find out what happens in our patient population, and indeed their friends and neighbours. Success would mean better evidence, better housing policies, better healthcare guidance, better recognition of patient experiences. We have patients who David Denning had a huge list of patients saying that they thought their home was damp, and would we go and form an opinion on whether that was affecting their health. And then he retired. I've still got the list, but that's how long we've been interested in investigating this relationship. Okay, so now what time have we got? We've only got a quarter of an hour, so We need your help. Despite growing concern, many questions remain unanswered. Researchers still do not know how common mold and damp are in people with lung disease. So how many people of you, how many volunteers have damp as well as aspergillosis, and how many people haven't got damp as well as aspergillosis? It is in itself an interesting question, and one that we'll be asking. Which housing factors are the most important? Which mold affects different aspergillosis conditions? Which interventions make the biggest difference? And how patients' experiences compare with environmental measurements? We need to start off with a patient population of volunteers, and then we need to gather information from each and every one of them and ultimately gather samples from each of their homes. If we get hundreds, there really aren't enough of us to go out to all your homes and get samples. So we'll be sending out kits to sample your home and the damp and mold and whatever in your home. We have all the equipment we need here to identify what those organisms are. So all we need is your samples to start doing that research. Okay. I'll keep moving on because we haven't got a lot of time. One of the reasons that you add to the research, it's not just a question of sending in your details and we look at your medical notes and also your samples. Your opinions also matter. You are the experts here. You're the people who've got aspergillosis and who are living in a home that's either damp or isn't damp. And you will know more about it than us. You might notice different things happening during the seasons change. You might know things happening as you move house. In my case, my son had a lot of allergic response in a damp home. We moved out and it cleared up almost immediately, definitely indicating that the damp house we were in was causing that problem. And that's an important bit of information. Some people might have had the bad luck to experience a flood. We're interested in anyone who's had that issue. We're interested in anyone who finds hidden mold behind furniture. This often happens with furniture that's been pushed up against an outside wall. The outside wall is quite cold. The air in it is trapped and the humidity, the temperature drops and it reaches the dew point and the humidity soaks into the back of the furniture and enables molds to grow. The rest of the room might be fine, but behind that piece of furniture, you could well find mold. That's worth looking for. Links between the housing and respiratory system symptoms are what we're interested in. Most or many important medical discoveries have begun with patient observations. So anything that you spot in your report would be very useful. I'm thinking we need an information gathering system here. So I'll try and put something in place. I'll coordinate this through the aspergillosis.org website and through Facebook. And if you are all willing to help us out, to sign up, I will also put the questionnaire out there for you to comment on. There is the current page that is already on that website to join the health study, who can take part, and a place to leave your details so we can get back to you. But we would like as big a variety of people signing up as possible. Like I say, I was asked about aspergillosis, to encourage aspergillosis patients to join up, to sign up, but also other people in the same house would be interesting, even if they haven't got aspergillosis. We can't have too many participants, and part of the questionnaire will define whether or not you actually have aspergillosis. And that's the little GIF with a QR code that will take you to the same page. So I will put that up on the website and into Facebook. Again, I did this a few weeks back, but I'll keep doing it to try and attract more interest. And we will then start the second part. Once we've got approval, we'll start sending out the second part of the study, which will involve sending you a questionnaire initially and then postal packs for kits. And it will tell you what we intend to do with those samples and so on. But I haven't got time to go too much into that. Now we need to design the questionnaire. I have the questionnaire here, but we've only got 8 minutes, so there's no point in showing it to you because it's got 47 questions on it. And it will take you a while. Some of you, I think, were kind enough to read through it beforehand. So if you've got any comments, please shout out or write it down and send them in to us, and I'll put a contact on that web page that we talked about, or do it in Telegram, whichever way is easiest. I'll send the questionnaire out to the whole group of patients in the hope of getting some feedback. I actually have some ideas of what the feedback might be, which might help you with your ideas, and I'll just run through those in the last 5 minutes. Things like, is anything confusing on the form? Are there any questions being asked where you weren't quite sure what was being asked? Make sure it's understandable. For example, I noticed a few things on the questionnaire. A reference to industrial composting sites. Many people won't know what those are. Include an approximate construction date of the property. That might be important because damp courses were not commonly put into homes before 1920. Standard of the house, is it? Do you think your house is low standard, reasonable, or good standard? Is subjective. I think that's a question on the form, and it's subjective. Therefore, how useful is it? Can we make it clearer? And ventilation questions may not be understood clearly as well. Is anything important missing? Probably the most valuable bit. Previous mold exposure, for example, a participant may currently live in a home with no damp or mold, but previously have spent years living in a damp property. So we need somewhere to, we need somewhere to record that? Current housing conditions may not reflect the cumulative exposure history. So I think some of these are pretty good. So I will be forwarding them on, but you may have additional or add-on bits, or you may agree with some of these. So please state if that's the case. Is there any water damp history in your home? Flooding, burst pipes, roof leaks, that type of thing. Patients' own perceptions may be important. Do you believe your home affects your health? I don't think there's a question there that asks that. And a patient's perception, or anyone's perception, can strongly affect what they say about something. So that's a really useful question to ask on the form. Yes, and really interesting. Are there any important housing, damp, mold, or environmental factors that affect your health but are not currently included in this questionnaire? Is a really, that's a question you could address yourself to, which would be a big help. Is the questionnaire too long? It was 47 questions long, which is pretty long, but this is a complex situation, and I've already suggested a number of more new questions to go on there. So would it put you off from completing the questionnaire if you knew it was nearly 50 questions long? Would you complete it, or would you just put it in the bin, for example? Are there questions people cannot answer reliably? For example, if you ask a question about mold color, and I think the questionnaire does, if you say, what color is the visible mold? Well, patients will probably mostly call it black, but it's again, it's a difficult thing for someone who's not skilled in identifying molds to define. There are a number. There's black, green, light green, yellow. There's all kinds of things, but it's easy if you're used to molds, but maybe not if you're not. This is a question I saw, which asked whether was the house within 1 mile of farm. Well, urban residents may not know that. Most rural residents wouldn't know where the boundary lies. So that's a difficult question to answer for a lot of people. So may need modification. Sensitive questions are, would you be comfortable if the survey asks for your postcode? why you might ask why, if the survey is anonymous, do you need a postcode? And the answer is because we need to. The geographical location of your home is important to the study, but of course, if someone's got your postcode, they've narrowed down who you are many thousandfold, so you might not want to do that. Maybe only submit a partial postcode, for example, might be a better question. Add any other diagnosed conditions? Now I think that's a really good suggestion, because if you have other things wrong, that might define what your symptoms are in that home. And why not tell us just in the questionnaire what are the specific diagnoses that you have? I don't think that appears in the form, and maybe should. Are you immune suppressed? For obvious reasons, we need to know that. And add the timing of the symptoms. Did they begin before or after moving into your current home, for example? That might be very informative. Could rule out a whole home. If yes, I have got symptoms, but my home is fine. But I had symptoms in the previous home. That would be an important piece of information. And the one that I would ask all of you now is, if you could ask one question about damp and mould health that researchers should answer, what would it be? Okay. Can you all think now of a question that you would like researchers to answer? So that's all important stuff, and I will be highlighting this on Facebook and in Telegram later this week or next week. So I'd be very grateful if you could not only complete those, but also pass these on to as many people as you can, so we get as many volunteers as we can. Okay. Thank you for watching. And I think our time is up.
That looks like a really good project. Yeah.
Hey, Helen.
Hello. Just thought I'd show my face at the end.
I thought you were all asleep.
Hey, I nearly did then. I'm
Me too.
upstairs, I'm laid on the bed and I'm like, oh.
Sorry, I'm droning on quite a lot this week.
See you all later. Bye.
Okay,
Thanks very
cheers.
much. Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye. Was anyone listening?
I think so. There was just quite a lot of parts to it.
Yeah. It's a huge questionnaire. So the fact that Shruti didn't bother turning up is, but I think I've got some of those questions I think are really good, and I will write a website page and post some of those questions and be a bit more creative and hopefully get some replies.
That'd be good.
Be nice to engage a bit more deeply on this one.
Yeah. When you've done that, if you send me a link, I'll do a tweet for it.
Right. I think we just need to keep hammering away and getting more volunteers. I think Jenny did it for a year. She was trying to get volunteers. So we're not ready to start with the questionnaire yet, obviously. So we have time yet. Well, clearly Shruti isn't going to be banging the drum very loudly.
Maybe she'll just have to learn.
We shall just have to help as much as we can. Right. Thank you for doing all that.
Thank you. That was a good meeting. Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
See you next week.
Yeah. See you next week.